The city's environmental symposium was a chance for local environmental leaders and regulators to learn what both are doing to help protect Northeast Florida. Topics include the health of the St. Johns River and the health of septic tanks in Duval County. JEA held a popular session on the state of its purified water program, H2.0, which purifies reclaimed water, then returns it to the aquifer.
We've done a lot of stakeholder outreach with the environmental community, so there were a number of people that were aware of our program, and this allowed us the opportunity to talk to those that we hadn't reached out to yet.
In another session called Water First North Florida, JEA explained how it's partnering with other utilities and the St. Johns River Water Management District to return reclaimed water to the aquifer by filtering it through the wetlands.
Using this Water First North Florida project in the wetlands to potentially recharge the Florida aquifer and address minimum flows and levels in the Ichetucknee and Santa Fe rivers. We are improving the water quality and environment for that community and ours as well.
This was one of the most well-attended environmental symposiums in the city of Jacksonville's 17-year history of organizing this event. JEA, building community. At JEA, building community starts with opening doors, and that includes showing young women what their future could look like.
We have a big thing at JEA called Women in Trades. There's no reason why we can't come out here and do every bit of this job that they're doing right here.
Around 50 middle and high school students from Generation WOW spent the day getting a behind-the-scenes look at careers they may have never considered. For high schoolers, the day began at an active job site, suited up in safety gear, learning how crews install the pipes that keep water flowing across our city.
We don't sell. We sell nothing. We serve. We're here to serve you. We service you. We provide water service, sewer service, electric service. That's what we're here to do.
They learned about engineering careers and hands-on trade opportunities. And for many, it was their first time seeing the infrastructure work up close.
I learned a lot personally. I never knew it took that much to actually put water into our house, so I really appreciate the work that they do every day to help us with our water and stuff.
While high schoolers explored careers in the field, middle school students visited the trails and interacted with reptiles at the Tree Hill Nature Conservancy, discovering how utilities, conservation, and community all connect. Then back on the buses to JEA headquarters to hear from JEA leaders like Chief Customer Experience Officer Dr. Charles Moreland, helping to remind them that their futures are already taking shape.
Now is the time to start planning for your success. Success doesn't wait till you become an adult for it to happen. It starts while you're in that phase right now.
It is a day to show these girls what is possible, that there are many opportunities and career paths open to them, things they may have never considered before.
I love the fact that, we can take different girls of different age groups out of their normal element and just show them and introduce them to something that they probably were not able to see, whether it's because of the side of town they live on, transportation. So being able to provide experiences for girls like that is very heartfelt for me.
From job sites to nature trails to leadership lessons, it wasn't just a day to learn how JEA works, but to invest in the next generation of women who will be powering our community. JEA, building community.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, let's pause for a time of reflection. Okay, thank you. And right now I'd like to ask for a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, let's go to the safety briefing. Brandon, please.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Brandon Edwards. I'm JA's Director of Security and Emergency Preparedness. A quick safety brief. For those of us participating downtown, in the event of an emergency, our JA Security will contact 911 and coordinate any required evacuation. If the emergency requires an evacuation, safely exit through one of the two marked exits. In this meeting area, you can either exit the building through the Pearl Street main entrance or the Monroe Street exit to the left of the American flag. We'll assemble in front of the Duval County Courthouse located at the northwest corner of Adams and Clay Street. If anyone needs medical assistance or help with evacuating, please notify a nearby JA security officer. Please always be aware of the potential trip hazards in and around your respective areas. And lastly, Please remember to keep your cell phones on silent and laptops on mute. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Brandon. Okay, now let's go to the comments from the public. And Jody, if you could please give the instructions for public comments.
Thank you, Chair DeSalvo. Just as a reminder, when folks are called to the podium, that you state your full name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes per comment.
Okay, thank you. First one is Kurt Wilson, please.
Good morning. My name is Kurt Wilson and my address is on file. I'm here today as a JEA customer and a private citizen. Having a career that has spanned 31 years between 2 large agencies in Jacksonville, I've seen my share of good and bad leaders. A future item before this board will be the CEO evaluation. If the crux of the scoring is the conduct between Vicki Cavey and the board, I suspect high grades are in order. Her leadership with the board and field employees have been positive. I've seen some of those folks here today to speak on her behalf, and I don't blame them. But it's the part that you don't see that's the issue, as she has 2 very distinct leadership styles. Vicki's style with those at HQ has been anything but positive. Dozens of my remaining colleagues work in fear of retribution and hostility. And after everyone at JA's employees have been through, I could not remain silent while another CEO's toxic behavior destroys the utility and the careers of so many hardworking employees. We all know that occasional stress or a bad day does not create a toxic work environment, but when a CEO engages in a pattern of behavior and culture that harms employees' well-being, performance, and morale, that certainly does. Toxicity doesn't have to include all employees, but what is the number the board would be comfortable with? If we truly care about our folks, even 1 is too many. But I'm here to tell you that the number are in the dozens, if not more. As chief of staff, I've spent more time with Vicki than most and watched firsthand how she's systematically created a fear-based culture in HQ. Finance, facts, and physics is a phrase she commonly quips about how you run a utility. And what is missing are the 2 values that were common prior to her tenure. That's courtesy and respect. Predictably, this fatal flaw within JA's leadership was revealed last week. After receiving dozens of concerns from colleagues about Vicki's behavior, I relayed those concerns up the chain of command and was unemployed the next day. And while no one has reached out to inquire or investigate those concerns, I could not in good conscience remain silent when so many have asked for help. Unfortunately, it seems that Vicki is more interested in levying a smear campaign against me and packing a room full of supporters for her. If the desired outcome was to suppress any future complaints, it worked. I want to apologize to those employees who current board chair labeled as bogus during last Friday's press conference. I assure you they are not. They are hardworking, honest, and dedicated professionals. I strongly encourage a review by OGC, City Ethics, or OIG into the allegations against the CEO, as any third party hired by this board or the CHRO will not be trusted. I remain ready and willing to sit down with any investigator to detail my concerns and those of my colleagues. And a parting question, I'd like to know why the executive committee vote on the new slate of officers was removed from this agenda. This is my signed letter to the board. Thank you.
Okay, next, Suzanne Sapp, please. I'd ask if you could get the microphone close to so we can understand. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Suzanne Sapp. My address is on record, and I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club, specifically as the senior campaign organizer working on the Beyond Coal campaign. I'm also a JEA customer and represent many Jacksonville residents who are paying attention to the decisions being made about our energy future. We are talking about a multi-billion-dollar, multi-decade commitments here. These decisions will affect our quality of air, our water, public health, and every ratepayer's monthly bill. And yet the public process has not matched the magnitude of those decisions. We are calling today, again, for a fully transparent, community-driven, integrated resource plan process, not a document unveiled after the fact, not a presentation without meaningful input, a real IRP process where modeling assumptions are shared, alternatives are evaluated openly, and community voices are included before decisions are locked in. This is what transparency requires. We are also asking for a firm and public retirement date for coal at the Northside Generating Station, continuing coal and petcoke indefinitely while adding new gas capacity signals to the public that fossil fuel generation is simply layered and not transitioned. A clear retirement timeline is basic accountability. At the same time, we expect to see serious expansion of solar and storage. Solar is not a science experiment, as we were told at the JEA open house the other night. It is a mainstream, rapidly deployed energy resource across Florida and the nation. Jacksonville should not be lagging behind while other utilities modernize. I also need to address something directly. The Sierra Club has formally requested a meeting or time on this board's agenda and with you, Ms. Cavey, no fewer than 4 times in writing. We have also made those requests directly to staff. As of today, we have not received a meeting. We are one of the largest and longest standing environmental organizations in the country. We represent members and rate payers in this service territory. There is no reasonable justification for refusing to engage. When community organizations repeatedly request dialogue and denied, it does not build trust. It raises concerns about openness and accountability. So today, again, we are formally requesting a meeting with the CEO and this board, not as adversaries, but as stakeholders who deserve a seat at the table. Jacksonville residents deserve clarity about their energy plan. They deserve affordable electricity. They deserve clean air and water, and they deserve transparency in how decisions are made. We are ready to work constructively. The question is whether JEA leadership is willing to meet the community halfway. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Ronnie Burris, please.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Burris, and I'm the business manager of Liona Local 630, but I am also a retiree of JEA. I'm here this morning not to talk about politics. I'm not here to talk about good, bad, or anything else. What I'm here to talk about is the facts. And this is the facts that, as I know, because it's been said to me during the negotiation process, that my members that work hard for you, I represent water and sewer. And 3 weeks ago, during the freeze, they had 3,400 tickets of broken pipes. During negotiations, Diane Moser informed my team, your employees, that they were 49% overpaid. They also said that Vicki was underpaid. We asked who they compared us to, and Diane Moser told me that they compared us to the city of Lakeland and they compared us to city of Tallahassee. Both of those places have less than 1 million people. City of Lakeland has 140,000 people. City of Tallahassee has a little over 200,000 people. They both have one sewer treatment plant. We have 12. But we're overpaid. My members are overpaid, and they are hardworking professionals that respect JEA and respect their jobs. Again, I'm not here to talk about Vicki. That's not my concern. My concern is why is it that Diane Moser told my members that they are 49% overpaid, yet their first line coordinators make 45% more money than they do. 45%. But yet, my members are overpaid. Yet my members are some of the hardest working, and Electric agrees with me, and Vicki will agree with me, I believe, that Pearl Street men and women work hard for this city and for JEA. And I just want, unfortunately, everyone to know that, yes, I am upset. I'm upset because I was told we'll see you in impasse. I'm ready to go to impasse, but also I did a public records request, and I also know that OGC for JEA I did a public records request for her, and I found that.
Your 3 minutes are up, Mr. Burris.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Mark Breedlove, please.
Good morning, Board Chair and members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to address you this morning. I'm Mark Breedlove. My address is on file. I'm the manager of technical training. Our team is responsible for training apprentices and trainees to safely and effectively perform the field operations that allow JEA to deliver essential water, sewer, and electric services to the Jacksonville community. Now, as you guys are all well aware, the city of Jacksonville experienced a significant amount of turmoil in 2019. It was a challenging period for the city as well as for JEA employees, but that turmoil eased somewhat during Jay Stowe's tenure, but then reignited again with his abrupt departure. So when Vicki assumed a leadership role here at JEA as the CEO, there was a considerable amount of uneasiness among the employees due to these past events. Over several months, she met with staff at town hall meetings. She earned their trust with her authenticity and, of course, her confidence in the JEA mission. And before long, a lot of that lingering anxiety had faded. And JEA's focus on the mission then of serving the community with affordable utility service was restored. Vicki demonstrated strong leadership and modeled personal integrity, and she, of course, encouraged the employees, excuse me, to do the same thing. She consistently supported the entire workforce. I recall her saying that JEA is a place where you can do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. In my own experiences, I haven't witnessed any of the racism or the toxic culture that's been brought out in the press recently. Vicki and the executive leadership team, they understand the critical role that technical training, my group, provides in developing JEA's future workforce. In my interactions with them, they've been fair, they've been supportive, and of course have been engaging with me as well as with my team. Unfortunately, today, once again, we find ourselves in the public eye for less than favorable circumstances. This attention, of course, overshadows the work that JEA employees are doing every day to provide these essential services to the Jacksonville community. And of course, it undermines the public's confidence in JEA's ability to look out for their best interests. I just want to emphasize that the strength of JEA lies in its employees. Our focus every day is demonstrating professionalism and dedication and commitment to serving the community. Strong leadership has helped restore stability and trust within the organization. And of course, it's allowed us to focus on the mission that really matters, delivering the safe, reliable, and affordable utility services as a community partner. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Chris Richardson, please.
Good morning. My name is Chris Richardson. My name and address and everything's on record also. I didn't come with a prepared statement. I came with, I'm not going to say facts in writing. I'm going to say 36 years with JEA, I've come to understand this. You don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see, maybe 3/4. When Vicki took over for Jay Stowe, it was turmoil. It was turmoil for 4 or 5 years with our company, within the construction management group, which I'm a construction maintenance coordinator, which means it's a very, very big title for a lineman that runs a bunch of crews. You could feel it. You could see it. The guys were worried about their jobs. They were worried about, COVID's ending, all this stuff's happening. Vicki steadied this boat. It made it comfortable to work. She's very involved. She shows up when she doesn't have to. Had a storm, probably her first year in. We're in the office for like 5 days. She gets wind of it on the first day. She shows up in the office. Nobody's there. in sweatpants, no entourage, no company, no security, and just make sure that we had what we needed and we were in the right direction. I've seen her do this on multiple occasions. She's engaged with the crews. She's engaged with the people. I can't speak for what happens down here. We stay away from down here purposely, but we are very focused on what happens out there. She knows these people. She knows the men. She knows their family. She knows my grandkids. I didn't know Vicky until she took over as CEO of our company, managing director. I've known all the managing directors. 3 of them I could depend on: Royce Lyles, Jimmy Dickerson, and Vicky Caby. And it's because they were engaged. She knows this company inside and out. She came back when she didn't have to. She was retired. She could have stayed out of the limelight, and she decided to come back and help us out because she understands what it takes to run a JEA. The company, we're built to serve, power to serve and build community. That's what we are. She understands that, and I would appreciate if you would take that in consideration, whatever decision you make today. Thank you for your ear.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Herbert, Taylor, I think. Okay. Moving on, Mr. John Burr, please. Oh, is there Herbert? I'm sorry. That's okay.
Good morning. My name is Herbert Taylor. I've been an employee since April 9th of 2001 with JEA. JEA is not a racist company, but racism does exist at JEA. I've been fired twice and hired back through arbitration, and I'd be willing to talk to anyone about some of the problems we have here at JEA. And as I said, JEA as a company is not racist, but racism does exist. And any of us that turns a blind eye to that is just as guilty. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now Mr. John Burr, please.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is John Burr. My address is also on file. I'm a long-term resident of Jacksonville and therefore a long-term JEA customer. The electric utility business is no longer the slow growth industry of the past. Driven by the explosion of artificial intelligence and the massive power needs of data centers, JEA, along with every electric utility in this country, has become a high demand, high growth asset. In this environment, it is inevitable that private investors will once again eye JEA for acquisition. That is why I'm troubled by recent activity. When we see board seats shuffled, calls to remove the CEO based on allegations of mismanagement, it looks like, once again, we're moving the furniture around to suit political ends. We cannot forget our history. The last JEA board to face these pressures failed in its oversight duty. It allowed former CEO Aaron Zahn to run roughshod over JEA, resulting in the most blatant public corruption scandal in Jacksonville's history. My ask to you, the board, is very simple. Do not be rushed to judgment by political pressure. Be deliberative. Ask the hard questions. Demand proof. Do not accept the first explanation offered when serious allegations are thrown out on the table. And most importantly, ensure that every action you take is made on behalf of the people of Jacksonville. This is a public utility. It belongs to us. We rely on you, the board, to keep the public interest first and foremost. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and next, Mr. John Nooney, please.
All right. Hello, I am John J. Nooney, Jacksonville City Council Resolution 2023-0819. Ask Dr. Salem, 8356 Bascom Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216. I'm in City Council District 4, CPAC Planning District 3, which has a meeting tonight. I mean, what a joke. All right, School Board District 3. I mean, take pictures. I mean, we're making a movie. Acronyms. We all love acronyms. JEA, Jacksonville's Exceptional Anglers. Well, we got a new one, FWC. Now, this is a play off the Fish and Wildlife Commission. And that is the state of Florida. It's tourism. Visit Florida, visit Jacksonville. So the new merchandising angle goes to Councilman Kenamaro and his recent legislation 2026-0004. That's 004007. Pottsburg Creek is waterways heaven. So we are coming out with a Kenamaro line of fishing hats. Now, JEA, building community. FWC, fishing with community. We're making a movie in Duval County. It's all through OED, the Office of Economic Development. We got Ed, Rambo, Randolph, Greg, J-Seb Grant, Todd, Red Carpet Rubin, Richard, Sparky Riker, 2025-0522. So back to JEA. Jacksonville encourages anglers. FWC, fishing with community. FWC, fishing with Cavey. FWC, fishing with Carico. FWC, fishing with Curry. FWC, fishing with Council. FWC, fishing with Congress. So going forward, one of the biggest decisions will be who is the JEA board member getting a new shirt. Now tonight at City Council, who will offer an amendment to the 3+ acre rezoning on Moncrief Creek. 2026-0024 for public access on a tributary that leads to the St. Johns River, a former American heritage river. FWC, fishing with Clara. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, next I'd like to go to the council liaisons comments. Councilmember Salem, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. Let me first recognize a couple of my colleagues that are here, Vice President Howland and Councilmember Diamond. If there's anyone else here from the council, I just don't see them. It was a little over 6 years ago that a group of council members in their first 6 months of their first term worked together to stop the sale of JEA. Without their efforts, we would not be sitting here today. Those same council members then spent another 6 months investigating the whole sale process and rewriting the JEA charter. I say this to emphasize this city council cares deeply about JEA and its employees. The events of the last week have been disturbing, and they include the elimination of the chief of staff position, which includes the termination of Kurt Wilson, who has been the point of contact of many council members. In addition, this type of termination has a devastating impact on the employees and their ability to provide feedback. Number two, the issue of a toxic work culture within JEA, where the termination of Mr. Wilson and these reports, an analysis needs to be completed of the status of the JEA employees. These employees were subjected to a living hell 6 years ago, and I will not let it happen again. Number three, the election of officers was removed from the agenda, and I'm not sure why and by whom. I want to determine that. I believe in the model of a board of directors being responsible for the supervision of our valuable authorities, including JEA. I've always been consistent with that. However, if the board does not act, the city council will step in again and investigate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Salem, and I'll be providing a lot more comment in the way ahead. Okay, next, I'd like to turn it over to our CEO, Vicki Caver, for comments.
Thank you, General. Where is? First, I want to address directly the allegations that have been made regarding the culture of JEA. When I was asked to come out of retirement after one of the most difficult chapters in this utility's history, we, as a team, worked tirelessly to restore stability, strengthen oversight, and rebuild public confidence. Every JEA employee should be proud of the progress we have made. The so far unsubstantiated accusations of systemic morale or culture problems seem false. And were they to be true, they would not suddenly appear overnight in a political news cycle. In fact, they would have surfaced long before now. In annual employment reviews, in board feedback, through customer and employee engagement channels, or in the independent assessments this organization undergoes regularly. They have not. My leadership style is rigorous and it is fair, consistent and grounded in respect. I hold senior leaders to high standards because JEA's mission is critical. We provide services that families and businesses depend on every hour of every day. Leading a public utility of this size requires accountability, discipline, and at times difficult personnel decisions. Holding people accountable and expecting professionalism is responsible governance. I want to be very clear about the things that have been said about the renewal or non-renewal of a lobbying contract. We ultimately made the decision based on what is best for JEA and our employees and, most importantly, our customers. There were some who disagreed with that decision and some who tried to change it. But ultimately, we stuck with what was right and did not bow to pressure or political considerations. We will do the same here. These accusations about me and about our leadership are not going to divert us from doing what we do every day here at JEA. Doing the right thing and doing what is best for this community. I accepted the position of CEO because I love JEA. I love our 2,400 employees. I love our community, and I care deeply about protecting the integrity of this institution. Our customers deserve steady, principled, and focused leadership, and that is what I intend to continue providing. So I want to go over some things of the past couple of weeks. General, did you want to?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. We held our open house at St. John's River, about St. John's River Power Park at the First Coast High School on February 19th. It was very well attended, and it was to discuss our new combined cycle plant with the community and the surrounding neighborhoods. Next, we had our wonderful Black History Month celebration Friday, this past Friday. The Edward Waters University choir members came and sang, and I heard it was pretty extraordinary. I came in right as they were finishing. I want to thank Dr. Moreland and Willette Stanford for putting on just an absolutely terrific program, as I think our people always do. Monday, yesterday, we had our 7th annual Redfish Tournament. 48 boats and 146 anglers participated. They raised $50,000 to go towards our Neighbor to Neighbor program, which is a fund that helps individuals who can't pay their bills. and I want to commend them. Last but not least, on February 6th, Board Member Worth MacArthur took a tour of the Northside Generating Station. What you see here is a fuel unloading bucket there in the upper left, a generator with Margaret Limbaugh, who is our director out at Northside. Bottom left is the fuel storage area, which one of the domes out there. And the last picture is, of course, on top of one of the unions. And I didn't know if Worth might want to say some comments.
No, I just continue to appreciate the opportunity to get in the field and respect and appreciate the hardworking men and women that are on the front lines, keeping the electricity on and the water flowing. Scale is impressive, as you can see in the pictures. Just really appreciate the opportunity to continue to know the asset base better. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
And Vicki, you needed, those aren't fireworks, by the way. Okay, next, let's go to JEA performance update with Julie Crawford, please. Julie.
Good morning. The corporate scorecard results being presented today represent actuals through January of 26. Starting with our unbeatable team section, you'll see that both of our metrics are hitting the target. Our safety metric shows a strong safety performance with 0 lost time incidents so far in fiscal year 26. We actually just in early February achieved 6 months, over 2 million safe work hours without an OSHA-defined lost time injury. So the last time we did that was back in March of 2022. It's a pretty big accomplishment. Moving to our customer loyalty section, the overall customer satisfaction metric continues to trend upward with year-to-date average performance at 3.89. This metric looks at the average for the year, but if we look at just January, we're at 3.97. And first contact resolution is at 78.1% and is slightly below the target of 78.8%, with our overall performance hovering in the high 70s to low 80s. Now moving to business excellence, we'll start with financial metrics, and 3 out of the 4 of our electric metrics are on target, with the fixed charge coverage coming in slightly below target, but above previous year's performance. And we will monitor that closely. It's just like last year where we expected to achieve 1.6 by the end of fiscal year 26. And all 3 of our water metrics are on target. And lastly, we'll look at our operational metric performance. The SAIDI metric continues to perform fairly consistently, with our performance coming in below the targeted ceiling in all 4 months of the fiscal year. The mean time to restore essential systems has held month over month and is well below the target for the month of January. And the sanitary sewer overflows metric continues to perform under target. This metric is a count and will continue to grow throughout the year. So for fiscal year 26, 4 SSOs impacted this metric. And lastly, water reliability, which measures our system pressure, has improved each month in the fiscal year, with performance continuing to be below the targeted ceiling threshold. And we've included an additional slide this month after some requests to see the total bill benchmark. This slide represents a typical electric and water and sewer bill for each area of Florida shown below. For the month of January, our bill was the second lowest in comparison to the other cities listed. And that concludes the scorecard portion. Any questions on that? So I'll just move right into the financial update. All right, starting with the electric system, January year-to-date shows strong results, with revenues coming in above budget and expenses coming in slightly below budget. Base revenues are up 3.1% over budget year-to-date, and this is driven by an increased overall sales compared to budget by 1.7%. Our fuel revenues are up 3.7%, which matches our fuel expenses. And other revenue is just slightly up, about 0.4%. So overall, total expenses came in less than 1% lower in January when compared to budget. Moving down to expenses, our O&M expenses are down 11.3%, mostly driven by an underspend in our other services and charges line, and we'll discuss that a little bit more on a future slide. Fuel and purchase power are up 3.7% year to date, and that's largely due to the extreme weather event during the last week of January, and then the subsequent increased volatility of natural gas prices. Our debt expenses are slightly under budget year to date, driven by the timing of revolving credit facility withdrawals. And then capital contribution and city contribution are tracking as expected. The non-fuel purchase power expense was over budget by 6.2%. And while other expenditures looks like it's 30.2% under, it's only $200,000 due to a lower than anticipated uncollectibles line. All right, moving to our cost per megawatt hour year to date. The generated power line is reporting on only the fuel portion of running our JEA-owned generation assets. The remaining costs show up in our total O&M, debt service payments, and total capital spends. This is coming in lower than this time last year and is driven by higher year-to-date fuel expenses and higher year-to-date kilowatt hours generated. The purchase power line reflects more of an all-in cost for energy purchase power, blending both fuel and non-fuel purchase power costs. And this is the line where Vogtle is accounted for. So overall, our total energy costs are lower than what we saw last year at an average of $51.09. All right, this slide shows our year-to-date O&M and capital performance versus budget. Overall, year-to-date O&M is $12.3 million below budget, driven by an underspend in other services and charges. That is a mixture of things like professional services and industrial services. Our results are $4.7 million lower than fiscal year 25 actuals over the same time frame. And the fiscal year 26 full year O&M forecast for electric is $315 million, or 97% of annual budget. Looking to capital, our spend year to date is $126 million with a full year budget of $420 million. The current forecast is at $415, which is 99% of budget. Our unrestricted cash remains relatively unchanged, although there were small changes in multiple funds that amounted to about a $1.5 million decrease. And our restricted funds stayed around $55 million, which is a $1.4 million decrease from December, with minimal changes between funds. And our weighted average investment yield is 4%, which is above our target. All right, moving to the water system, our water and sewer revenue is slightly below budget, driven by lower than budgeted sales. And capacity and extension revenue is 7.3% above budget year to date, but this trend could flip depending on the pace of connections. And both investment income and other income are below budget through January year to date. Looking next at expenses, overall total expenditures came in 2.7% lower than budgeted. O&M totals $98 million, $500,000 below budget. We'll discuss more of that on the next slide as well. And capital contributions are $1.6 million above budget. Our debt expense is $7 million below budget year to date, driven by timing differences, but is expected to increase and fully recover later in the fiscal year. And our city contribution is tracking as expected. Other expenditures are $153,000 above budget. Overall, year-to-date, O&M is $0.5 million below the year-to-date budget. And compared to last year, results are $13 million or 15% higher than fiscal year 25 actuals over the same time frame. Forecasting 26 O&M spend to be $296 million, which is $4 million higher than the annual budget, or 101% of annual budget, which is primarily driven by the $3.3 million of Normandy Village utility expense that was not budgeted. Our capital spend is $119 million year to date. Total spend is projected to be $525, which is 93% of budget. Unrestricted cash stayed at $30 million, and our restricted funds are declining in the fiscal year due to the use of the bond funds for capital projects, offset by an increase in the debt service funds for the October 1st payments. Our balances increased in December primarily due to the $125 million draw on the revolving credit facility. And just like electric, our weighted average investment yield is 4% above our target. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Julie, around last year, this time we had that cold snap. With the volatility of the natural gas prices and all that, we saw the bills affected, I think roughly through May timeframe. What about this year? Same expectation, do you think?
Yes, I would expect the same. We saw some of the impact that will be in next month's bills, and then I anticipate as more of the expenses come in from the February timeframe, that will roll forward. So I would expect probably through the same timeframe, May, that we'll need to recover those additional expenses.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, next for the consent agenda, I'd like to ask for a motion to pass the consent agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, next, I'd like to turn it over to Rick Morales for the Capital Projects Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Capital Projects Committee met here on February 11th. Committee members Arthur Adams, and John Baker attended the meeting. General DeSalvo and Worth MacArthur were also in attendance. All presentations were received for information only. Rob Zamatero gave an update on the H 2.0 Water Center. Rob provided an update on this unique project that is nearing completion and expected to be in service in the middle of May. On November 18th, the board approved the funds for a new surface road access, and that is now complete. Rob shared with us a few of the unique challenges of this facility, including audiovisual calibration, tour procedures, and overall customer experience. I suggest we plan to hold a future board meeting out at this site. It is really impressive. Then Rob proceeded to give us an update on the Buckman Water Reclamation Biosolids update, along with Sean Connor. Sean provided the update, the biosolids conversion new processing facility. The new biosolids facility will replace the current aged facility. We'll treat biosolids from all 8 JEA facilities. Construction is about halfway and is expected to complete in 2029. The existing biosolids rehabilitation for the existing facility is currently under construction and is about halfway complete and is expected to be complete in April. This maintains it until the new facility is operational in 2028. The new sludge holding tank is under construction at the Buckman facility. Construction is approximately 35% complete and is also scheduled to be complete in 2028. Aeration basin header diffuser replacement. This project includes the replacement of the headers and diffusers in the existing aeration basin. They are replaced one at a time, and there are a total of 4. The construction process of this is 34% complete and is scheduled to be complete in 2028. We also received a combined cycle update from Jim and Jamali, thank you. On December 19th, JEA finalized the contractual terms, executed the agreement with GE Vernova, and provided a full notice to proceed. The next steps in the process include regulatory approval, submitting a need for power petition to the Florida Public Service Commission, and submit a site certification application to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The project procurement issuing to evaluate engineering, procurement, and construction solicitations, and then board engagement, regularly keeping the board involved in understanding the process. Fulton Cut replacement is proceeding. Daryl Hamilton gave us an update. The timeline is completion is scheduled for September of 2026. Installation of the new poles and structures is summer of 2026. Installation of the new power lines is winter of 2026. Removal of the old towers and replacing the site is summer of 2027. Recent construction includes completion of the Paramax structures, the foundations on December the 5th. Currently, the construction of the monopole structures in Blen Island and Reed Island is underway. The next Capital Projects Committee is May 6th, and all board members are invited to attend. That concludes my report.
Good, thanks, Rick. Any questions at all? Okay, next, would like to turn it over to Gary Baker and Mark Anderson from TEA regarding the power purchase agreements.
Good morning, General DeSalvo and the rest of the Board of Directors. I'm here to, Good morning, General DeSalvo, rest of the Board of Directors. I'm here to present a set of power purchase agreements or PPAs that not only supports a lucrative sale for JEA, as well as resources to supply our organic load growth in the JEA territory. I got two friends beside me. They're from the Energy Authority. There are our marketing arm of JEA that does transactions and PPAs and the like. I'll turn it over to Mark Anderson and Mike, and they'll introduce themselves and present the details of the PPAs that we envision here.
Thank you, General, for allowing us to come here and present these opportunities. Thank you to the rest of the board and to Vicki and to Gary, his team, to Julie and to Joe, their teams, AJ, for all the support they've given us to make these transactions happen. My name is Mark Anderson. I'm the Director of Client Services for the Energy Authority. I handle and manage all of our clients east of the Mississippi River, as far south as Lakeland Electric, and as far north as New Hampshire. To my right is Mike Gehring. He is the Director of Portfolio Management. He is responsible for a team that provides risk management and optimization strategies for all of our clients east of the Rockies. TEA was founded in 1997 by JEA and Santee Cooper, two of the three original founders. TEA has 80 clients across the United States. We are in every market, from the ISO New England to ERCOT to California, the upper Northwest, as well as the bilateral Southeast market. Our mission is to optimize JEA's assets in the wholesale energy marketplace. That's what we are here to do for you. We have approximately 350 people at the Energy Authority in 2 locations, here in Jacksonville in the Ameris Bank building, and 1 outside Seattle in Bellevue, Washington. I first want to talk about market opportunities. The Southeast has seen an increase in population since COVID, as well as commercial and industrial needs. The Southeast has also seen a very large, heavy presence of data center inquiries from Virginia to Georgia, South Carolina, and even here in the state of Florida. CEO of NextEra actually talked about, and in their latest earnings call, about 9,000 megawatts of data centers they're hoping to provide by 2035. So data centers have been a very significant growth mechanism for utilities in the Southeast. JEA is also seeing additional capacity needs for its organic load growth. Dalton Utilities in Dalton, Georgia, has seen residential load increases as well as 1 large data center and has power needs starting in 2028. Multiple counterparties are looking to serve this large data center and native load needs. They are currently 1.6 ownership in Vogtle units 1 through 4, which JEA has a PPA off of for Vogtle units 3 and 4. Santee Cooper in South Carolina and Moncks Corner, South Carolina, has residential, commercial, and industrial needs, as well as some small data center needs. Santee Cooper is also an original founder of the Energy Authority. So let's walk through some of JEA's capacity needs. You have native load growth, which are the second and third columns here, where you have winter needs, which spanned from December 15th through February 28th, and then year-round needs, which can be a mix of combined cycle or peaking needs throughout the year. We're looking to sell megawatts to Santee Cooper and to Dalton starting in 2027 through 2032. So your total needs range from 45 megawatts this past year up to 366 megawatts all the way out through 2032 until your combined cycle starts in the early 30s. So let's walk through the sale transactions to Santee Cooper and to Dalton Utilities. We'll be selling capacity and energy delivered off of Vogels 3 and 4. It is unit contingent. So if there is a problem with the resource, JEA is not obligated to supply. On the Santee Cooper sale, we are looking to resell Southern Company transmission, and we're asking for that approval. In 2027, we'll be selling 206 megawatts. 2028, we'll be splitting the baby between Santee Cooper and to Dalton Utilities. Energy is priced for both transactions, Santee Cooper and Dalton alike, as a combined cycle, something very similar to Brandy Branch or the new combined cycle that you are building. In Dalton Utilities, we'll start with 103 megawatts in 2028, increase to 129 megawatts in 2029, and then back to 103 megawatts through the end of 2032. Now I want to outline our next steps and how we plan on purchasing power to support the sales as well as your native growth needs. We have an opportunity after canvassing the marketplace. We negotiated the following: a new FPL PPA through TEA, 150 megawatts with the option of a 50 megawatt starting in 2029 if there are additional load growth needs. It's a 2-year notice on this option. TEA also expects to hedge all of its natural gas usage. With this 150 megawatts, we also need to buy transmission to bring the power from FPL to JEA. And we'll also be asking for the 50 megawatt option transmission as well, if necessary. The second aspect will be to increase the FPL Shearer PPA by 70 megawatts. And your November board approved, this was approved back in November of 2025, which we elected 10 megawatts of, to start in June 1 of this year, June 1, 2026, through December 31st, 2041. It's the same terms and conditions. It is a negotiation with FPL. We had optionality under that contract. We have elected to take all of the megawatts now. Including, we will also ask for your approval for transmission to move that power to JEA's area. So in all and in summary, JEA will be purchasing 230 megawatts of firm capacity, energy, and transmission with an option of 50 megawatts more to support the sale as well as its native load needs. Any questions thus far? So just to quickly highlight where this capacity purchase from the sale and then ultimately the purchase puts its JEA's needs. The last two columns, we will still have some needs in 28 for the winter as well as some summer needs. TEA will be canvassing the market again. We will consistently be looking at additional options, but this puts us in a very good capacity position until a combined cycle comes in and to fulfill its needs. Last two slides here. What we've done is we've broken the purchase and the sale to create an apples to apples comparison. So we understand exactly the profitability of this sale to Dalton and to Santee Cooper. We have matched purchases to it, which is a combination of the Shearer PPA as well as the 150 megawatt options plus the 50 megawatt option. So in all, the total indebtedness is $421 million. On the sales side, which is the good side, we're looking at a total revenue of 571. As an apples to apples comparison, we are looking to reach $150 million of profitability from 2027 through 2032. Any questions? So far, so good. And then lastly, to support native load growth, TEA and JEA will ultimately use the green line down here on the bottom to support your growth. It's partially the 80 megawatts in 2026 from the Shearer PPA, as well as the balance of the 150 megawatts plus the 50 megawatt option that we've negotiated with FPL. Total indebtedness is $407 million. Included in all of this, we are looking to purchase no more than 75% of the expected natural gas needs for the term of the agreement to make sure that our risk exposure is mitigated.
Yeah, Mark, great insight. Probably a question for Ted. So $150 million, can you talk about how we plan to deploy that capital on a go-forward basis?
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Sure. So our plan right now is to take those savings and use that to strengthen our pay-as-you-go on our capital. So this will, if we get the whole $150 million over that 6-year time period, that would be $150 million less debt that we would have to issue that we are planning to, which will strengthen our metrics on our balance sheet.
All right, thank you.
Ted, what is the existing contract on the contribution to the city? When does that end and when is it renegotiated?
I believe that contract ends at the end of FY29.
And it's set to increase, is it 1% a year for the next 4 or 5 years?
Yes, sir. It's
Thank you.
set to increase 1% until the end of the term.
Thank you.
When we had the pre-brief, I thought I asked this, but I can't remember. If the data center falls through, is that a risk for us?
So we've been working on this deal for about 5 months. And through that time, credit of the data centers was very important to us, credit support. So we have packaged together a very attractive credit support in the form of cash and letter of credit that the data center will post through Dalton, and then Dalton will post through to us, such that if the data center never actually shows up, we will be kept whole, at least whole. We will actually probably profit from the transaction.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Any other questions at all? Okay, so at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve this power purchase agreement.
I make that motion, and I think it's extraordinary what you all have done to put a very complicated deal together. It's very profitable for JEA, and I thank you, and I'm happy to support the motion.
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Thank you. Great. Thanks, Mark and Mike. Appreciate it. Gary, too.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Gary, you're still in a hot seat, and we'll bring up Victor Blacksher, I believe. Talk about modifications to JEA's. Okay, thanks. Let me just do it. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Can you hear me also? Thanks. Today, we're bringing for approval or action by the board is our open access transmission tariff. This is a tariff we use to sell our excess capability on our transmission system. It's used by any electric utility. It's by marketing entities or anyone for person or entity generating energy for sale or resale. This was established mainly for the IOUs to ensure fair access to transmission. So marketing entities didn't have an unfair advantage. Accordingly, JEA is not jurisdictional with FERC. However, we have to have a tariff to not only sell our transmission, but also to provide reciprocal service to people we also do business with, i.e. FPL, Southern Company, Duke, and the like. So today we're trying to accomplish two things. One of which is we're trying to change our cost of service and according rates, as well as some business processes, how we set up short-term firm type transactions. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Victor. That'll go through the cost of service.
Thank you, Gary. So what we took is our FY24 revenue requirements to determine the cost of our transmission service to get to these rates. And when we had that breakout for our transmission, the cost of service for our transmission services, then we used our coincident peaks to calculate the rates in particular. And in doing so, you can see what the current rates are and what our proposed rates are today. By doing the math, it turned out to be $30,671 per year. And then all the rates following is just really increments of time. So it goes from the 30,000 to the 2,556 down by week to 590 down by day to 118. But what this does is brings our rates up to our cost of service based off our FY24 requirements.
Okay. And this was the second part of our mission here, was to adjust it. And not in the nutshell, we're just trying to streamline our firm process of making service agreements with our counterparties. So it's just to facilitate the business at that point. And our requested action is for staff request board approve resolution 2026-09 to adopt the modifications to the open access transmission tariff described in Exhibit 2 and authorize the managing director, CEO, or their designee to take all necessary administrative actions to implement the approved changes. And I would be open to any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
What is the financial impact on JEA?
Over the last three, we've brought in a rough, on average, on an annual basis, about $3.2 million. It should just slightly double to about $6 to $6.4 million. That's what we're expecting, assuming behaviors don't change within the system.
There's a slide that references 2007. Does that indicate that that's the last time that this was reviewed, and what would be the process for accelerating that review process going forward to make certain that we remain competitive in the marketplace?
You're correct. We haven't updated it since 2007. As part of this process, we'll have an annual review process between Victor's group and my group to review it. If a change needs to be made, we'll send it back to the board. And it requires board because they are the governing body for our tariff.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the open access transmission tariff.
Second.
And any further discussion at all? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor.
Okay, next we'll have Jordan Pope discuss the JEA former headquarters disposition.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Orender has a declaration of conflict that he needs to read for the record.
I'm declaring a conflict on this item concerning the sale of the former JEA headquarters property. My son, Jacob Order, is part of the redevelopment team for the top ranked respondent. For the record, I will not participate in the discussion nor the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. As we've stated, this item concerns the proposed sale of the former JEA headquarters campus in downtown Jacksonville. In 2025, JEA formally solicited offers for its 2.47 acre campus, which is located 1 block from City Hall. The property served as JEA's headquarters from the late 1980s until the spring of 2023, when we relocated to this building. The campus is made up of 3 primary components: the 19-story tower, the 6-story customer center, and the Adair building, which includes structured parking and ground floor retail. The tower and customer center also share a below-grade parking deck. At one time, and before JEA moved in, these 3 structures were part of what was known as Downtown Center. The garage was constructed first with a Purcell's women's store on the first floor. Next came the customer center, which was then a JB Ivy and Company department store. And finally, the tower, known as the Universal Marion Building, was completed in 1963 and was the tallest building on Jacksonville's North Bank at the time, and may be best known for its revolving restaurant on the top floor. While the campus and its components hold a meaningful place in Jacksonville's downtown history, the age and condition of the structures limit their ability to meet modern needs. Redevelopment provides a path to honor that legacy while enabling new investment, activity, and long-term vitality for this highly visible site. With this in mind, JEA's formal solicitation evaluated both purchase price and qualitative redevelopment criteria, including development team background and experience, financial capacity, experience on similar projects, and the proposed use of the site. The full solicitation and evaluation details are included in your board materials. In response to the solicitation, JEA received 2 proposals. Live Oak Contracting, through its entity, the Jewel at 21 West LLC, submitted a $1 million offer and received the highest overall evaluation score. A second proposal from Simple State proposed a $0 purchase price and scored significantly lower. A formal appraisal was completed in February 2025 and valued the property at approximately $15 million, and the current county assessed value is just under $30 million. As a reminder, JEA does not pay property taxes. Because the proposed sale price is below appraised value, JEA's governing documents require approval by both the JEA board and the Jacksonville City Council. While the appraisal provides a useful market reference, it does not account for the significant capital required to reposition the buildings, nor the ongoing carrying costs JEA incurs while the property remains vacant. A 2016 study estimated that the tower renovation costs to be between $65 million and $78 million. And from fiscal years 2023 through 2025, JEA incurred more than $3.7 million in operating and maintenance expenses at the site. The appraisal also relies on several assumptions: that major mechanical systems are in good working order, that no environmental concerns exist, and that a single large user, most likely an educational institution or corporate campus, would occupy the site. Given current downtown office vacancy levels, this outcome is uncertain and I would say unlikely. In addition, none of the comparable sales used in the appraisal were in Jacksonville, and only one was within Florida. The campus is not a stabilized income-producing asset. It is a large, aging, and currently vacant complex with substantial deferred maintenance and inherent development risk. Staff's recommendation is informed by price, but grounded in the practical reality that absent a sale, JEA would continue to incur annual holding and maintenance costs of approximately $1 million annually. I said that already, $1 million a year, without corresponding operational benefit. So based on the evaluation results, staff negotiated a purchase agreement with the Jewel at 21 West LLC. The agreement provides for a $1 million purchase price, supported by $100,000 in earnest money, and includes a 1-year due diligence period with a limited extension option. The transaction is structured as an as-is, whereas sale, which limits JEA's post-closing risk and long-term exposure. Closing would occur within 180 days following completion of the inspection period, subject to standard extension options. Staff believes this transaction represents a responsible path forward that reduces ongoing carrying costs, transfers redevelopment risk to the private sector, and supports downtown revitalization objectives. As a tax-exempt public asset, its sale would return the property to the tax rolls and create an ongoing ad valorem revenue stream. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like to introduce Paul Bertozzi to come to the podium and also introduce his development team who are here with us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Paul Bertozzi with Live Oak Contracting. We're very excited about the opportunity to redevelop the Jewel at 21 West. I have with me today my team from Live Oak, Catherine Rutel and Ralph Poland, our architecture team with Ginsler, as well as my partners at Burr Foreman, Jason Gabriel and Dino Hicks on our lobbying team. Additionally, I don't know if he's here, but Lone Pine Development is a co-development partner with us, and they will be working alongside us as we move forward. We have a lot of due diligence still to do on the building. We were given limited information as we were responding to the RFP. So we look forward to getting started on our due diligence and getting into the next phase of development. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
John, please.
What do you anticipate turning it into?
So we anticipate the tower being converted into roughly about 180 apartment units in the tower. Food and beverage along the ground floor plaza area, and then converting the CSC building, revitalizing the exterior and looking at it as additional commercial space within the building.
And I assume this has been socialized with DIA?
Yes, we have had conversations with Colin and the DIA board.
And so far, positive feedback?
So far.
Okay. Okay, any other? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, what staff is asking through resolution 2026-04 is approval of the sale to the Jewel at 21 West LLC, delegation of execution authority to the CEO and managing director or the real property procurement officer to execute the documents necessary, and authorization for staff to proceed to Jacksonville City Council for final approval. I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Okay. Rick.
So obviously, they're going to be looking for major city incentives and so forth. And if they don't get the incentives, they've got a 1-year option on it. We terminate the deal if they choose to.
Yes, sir. I would expect them to, during their inspection period, finalize their incentives in order to finalize this purchase.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion for the board to approve the sale of the former headquarters campus to the Jewel at 21 West LLC.
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion? None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion's passed. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we'll go back to Julie Crawford and AJ Soto for our rating agency presentation.
Thank you. Back again. This morning, AJ and I are going to give you an abbreviated preview of the presentation we will be giving to the 3 rating agencies that have agreed to come down to Jacksonville to conduct their annual surveillance. They'll be here March 3rd, March 11th, and March 17th to not only hear our presentation, but to also tour some of our facilities. These annual updates are important because it gives JEA an opportunity to tell our story, that we are financially strong, reliable, and we strategically plan for the future. This in turn allows these agencies to provide our ratings to the investor community to instill confidence in our credit, communicating JEA is something they should want to invest in. And that's especially important in a season of issuing new debt to reinvest in our existing system and to build new infrastructure for the growing community. While the full presentation will contain sections on the operations of the business and some other details, and that's included in your package, we're only going to cover the financials today. This slide reflects both the electric and water financial metrics. You can see within the 5-year history, we are consistently achieving our targets. This reflects an effort in the past to pay down debt and put our balance sheet in a position to take on new debt for our robust capital program, to ensure our revenue is sufficient to cover the debt service resulting from this new debt and to hold liquidity at a healthy level. When we look at the electric system only and its projections for new money needs, we see an increase in not just total debt, but the debt to asset ratio starts to creep above our 50% target and above the current peer median. While this might look concerning at first, this is an intentional decision to allow this metric to temporarily hover above the 50% while we are building our new combined cycle, which is budgeted at $1.57 billion. While our metric is currently below the target, the 10-year average is 57%, which is in line with the current projections. But we do plan to work this metric back down to 50% following our big capital spend years. The current debt composition is largely fixed, with 10% on the revolving credit facility and 2% variable. And AJ and his team are constantly reviewing opportunities to make this mix as appropriate as possible and to continue to strategically make decisions during each new debt deal. When we look at our fiscal year 25 for the electric system, most of our projections were spot on within a few percent, except for our megawatt hour sales. You can see at the bottom of those boxes. And as we can all remember, 2025 was a year of weather extremes that led to additional sales. And speaking of electric sales, you can see here that our projections into the next 3 years, we are projecting sales growth at 0.8% annualized due to organic growth and some new industrial load. This is weather normalized. So if we have another extreme weather year, we could see our actual sales come in higher. And this side reflects the historical and forward-looking revenue requirements for our electric system. Generally, overall, we need more revenue to support the requirements, and we'll achieve that through both growth and rate increases. And looking to this table, it shows our capital investment plan and the sources of funding that we are planned. We're planning to spend $2.6 billion over the future 3 years, our 27 through 29 forecast, and plan to fund $1.7 billion of that with debt. But as things change, we consistently will evaluate those debt needs year over year. The resulting projected metrics from this plan are shown on this slide. We plan to meet coverage and liquidity targets throughout the plan. And as we mentioned before, we will exceed the 50% debt to asset threshold in our heavy capital spend years. And with that, that finishes up the electric system, and I'm going to turn it over to AJ to speak to the water system.
Thanks, Julie. I'm AJ Soto. I'm the treasurer here at JEA. Covering the water system on the debt management section, you'll see here very similar to the electric system. We show you our debt outstanding and what our projection is for that. The chart to the right is our debt composition as of December 31st. Julie touched on an important point I want to make here. You'll see a large portion of our debt is currently fixed in both systems. That is largely a result of the de-risking efforts we undertook on October 1, 2024 on the electric side when we closed that deal where we eliminated all the swaps on the electric system. When we executed the water sewer transaction in January of 25, we eliminated our remaining swap and also converted some variable rate debt to fixed. Typically, when you continue to issue new debt on a fixed rate basis, you are going to see the composition of this chart continue to show a larger amount of fixed and a lower amount of variable. Industry practice or rule of thumb, might be a target of about 10 to 15% range for variable rate debt as part of your overall debt composition. And so I anticipate future issuances of new money incorporating at least a piece of variable rate debt, so that way we can maintain the balance on an overall basis on our debt portfolio. So that was an important point I thought that needed to be made here. Our water sewer system financial results. We take great pride in both of these slides, actually. It's what we committed to versus what our results were. And while we marginally missed a few of them, overall, I'm pleased that the results were close to what was planned. One of the main things I want to point to here is that days liquidity. You'll see we were initially forecasting 143 days liquidity, and we ended up at 431 days of liquidity. The board will recall that we recently brought new revolving credit agreements for consideration, where now each system, the electric system and the water sewer system, has a dedicated revolving credit facility of $350 million. That's appropriate, especially as we are in this high spend, high borrowing environment where we use the revolving credit facilities as a form of bridge financing leading up to bond issuance. As a result, the water sewer system benefited greatly because it now has a dedicated facility versus the prior arrangement, which was a shared facility between electric and water, where water only got a proportionate share based on the size of its O&M budget. And so 431 days liquidity, that's kind of a bragging point we've been airing out there the last few months. Other than that, the other item I'd like to point to is our capital expenditures. On the water side, capital expenditures remain elevated, but we're continuing the trend of recent prior fiscal years. In FY23, we had capital spend of $494 million. In FY24, it was $491 million, and you see in FY25, it was $521 million. So Rob and his team are really knocking it out of the park in terms of investing in the system. You'll see our total system unit sales forecast for the forecast period. It's actually a full percentage point higher when you compare it to the electric system. That's just growth in the system and demand for the commodity. Our revenue requirements slide, we actually show this to the Mayor's Budget Review Committee and to the City Council as it breaks down the different components of our annual revenue requirements. A couple things you'll note here that I want to point out. Debt service, it is increasing due to recent borrowings. I've verbalized this to the board before, but our new money issuance in 2024 of $353 million resulted in additional annual interest costs of approximately $19 million. When you look at our new money issuance in 2025 of $462 million, that was additional annual interest costs of $24 million. And so as we continue to kind of issue this new money in these large tranches, you can continue to expect that debt service number to grow as we execute those issuances. CapEx remains elevated, as I've stated before, and our O&M increases are primarily driven by support for the new facilities we're adding in water. Our sources and uses slide here shows the amounts that we expect to spend on capital in the coming years as a mix of PAYGO and debt proceeds. PAYGO represents about 33% and debt proceeds represent about 67%. This fits with our practice of generational equity, where we don't want to disproportionately impact today's ratepayers by having them bear all of the costs for long life assets. And essentially, we're just balancing out the impact to today's ratepayers versus the leverage we plan to take on in the system. and our financial metrics. Our debt service coverage, though lower when compared to recent prior fiscal years, we see our debt service coverage remaining within our pricing policy metric. Our debt to asset ratio will continue to rise as we issue new money debt to meet growth and regulatory requirements. Though we are forecasted to exceed our target in these continuing high capital spend years, I just want to add some context for consideration here. Our debt to asset ratio peaked in the water sewer system at 70%, though Joe likes to remind me technically it's 69.8%, and that was in 2010. We have a 20-year average ratio of 54.2% and a 10-year of 44.3%. So we just like to be mindful of that context here. And some of these situations where you see some of these metrics creeping back up, we've been in this situation before. However, we believe we are better positioned to handle that.
And AJ, if I remember right, feedback from rating agencies, they understand that based on where we're at with the pretty aggressive capital projects that we're doing.
I appreciate you asking that question. Yes. What you are seeing here today is not unique to JEA. In our discussion with our various banking partners and our discussions with investors and our discussion with the rating agencies, every utility across the country is telling the same story. They're all running to build new generation to replace old generation. The costs are pretty much double what they were when the conversations were initially had. And the same is true on the water side. So it's nothing unique to JEA. All public utilities are experiencing this. And so while we are still below our peer ratio of 48.7%, I would say our takeaway is that our debt to asset ratio is increasing. However, so is the ratio for our peers. And the increased CapEx and the resulting increase in debt-related metrics is not unique to JEA. I do want to point out, too, that we continue to invest in our system in an amount greater than its depreciation. There was a period where we weren't doing this, and there was concern from the rating agencies cited. And so the last 3 years, we have far exceeded the amount we're investing in the system compared to the depreciation. It's good that we have these metrics in place because they help us balance how we fund our needs going forward with regards to rates versus how much leverage to take on. And again, just that day's liquidity, that metric looks really great right now because of the new revolving credit facility, which we have drawn on this year. Overall, in closing, our message to the rating agencies will remain the same. Yes, we do plan to borrow more money in the future. However, we believe that we've set ourselves up to be in a good position to do that. And though we may temporarily exceed our target metrics, our financial plan is to stay or return to those target metrics within a short period of time. And just to remind, we're meeting with the rating agencies Fitch on March 3rd, S&P on March 11th, and Moody's on March 17th. We are very pleased to be personally hosting them here at JEA HQ and showing them a lot of the very exciting things that are going on here. And so I'm pleased to be able to help tell that story. We will be making tweaks and refinements to the full presentation that's attached as an appendix item to this board package leading into next week's meeting. But if there's any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I have a question.
Sir.
So it's probably not widely understood by a lot of our customers how capital intensive energy generation and water treatment is. Arguably across most industries is one of the more capital intensive industries. And I know from experience that the rating agencies historically have not just looked at financial performance. There are also qualitative inputs that they look at to position and to rate the various agencies in terms of the quality of the debt that they issue to us. So we focus exclusively on kind of the financial lens. It's one of the primary inputs. But can you talk about some of the other criteria that the rating agencies consider as they look at debt issuance? And as a board, what are some things that we can do to support that?
That's a great question. We tend to focus on financial metrics because we're finance nerds, right? That's what we do best. However, there are several other metrics that get taken into consideration. One of them is going to be management and governance of the organization. Another one is going to be focused on customer outreach and how are your rates compared against peer utilities and the affordability based on census information of your population. I would say robust customer outreach and education programs are looked upon pretty favorably by the rating agencies, as well as any other kind of unique ways you are addressing regulatory challenges. I don't want to steal thunder from Rob and his group. I had a chance to personally tour H2.0 last week. That's actually one of the facilities we're going to be taking the rating agencies to when they're here. For those of you that haven't had a chance to go see it, it is a showstopper. And Ryan Popko out there is just one heck of an individual. I mean, you can't help but be inspired when you walk in that building and listen to his tour and see what that facility is doing. And even though it's a pilot facility, right, I think it's a bit of a misnomer when you go out there and see that educational aspect of it. But I think right there, you get a front row seat at the level of community outreach that's also factored into it, because a lot of that facility is built to encourage field trips and schools and educational experiences. That's the kind of qualitative stuff the rating agencies consider when they are rating the credit. We will always focus more heavily on the finance side, but there's a lot of other good things going on here that we get the opportunity to tell the story about. And that's just an example of one of them. Hope that answered your question.
I just say, I think it's incredible that they're actually coming here physically, and that's the first time that's happened, I think, in ever, or what?
It's been a while since they've been down, sir. Prior to COVID, it was typical for us to go up there. And then, of course, COVID kind of turned everything upside down and things were done virtually for a while. I would say in discussion, here internally with our financial advisors and everything, it's given the fact that we plan to go to the market on an annual basis with new money issuances, it's good to bring them down here and show what's been going on. And there has been a lot of positive things going on here at JEA that we want to share the story of. And so I'll also point out, one of them emailed me this morning and said, we're really looking forward to coming down there because we're leaving 2 feet of snow behind us.
Yeah, I hope they can make it down here, right?
Yeah, we hope they can. It's a lot of work. These are going to be day-long meetings because they're here, so they'll get the annual presentation they always receive. But then we're going to be taking them not just to H2.0, but also to the Northside Generating Station and to the SJRPP site. Because there's an exciting story to tell on the electric side as well.
Great. Please, MG.
I'm sure the public gets nervous sometimes when they see the JEA taking on debt. But I will tell you the other side of that story. I have a receptionist of a club I manage in New York. And I was there in November, and she was lamenting that her monthly utility bill had gone to $2,100 a month. And when we were meeting with TEA, the gentleman, I told them that story, and they said it's because they're 20 years past the lifespan of their infrastructure, and they're still in many parts using coal oil, which is what my parents heated their house with in Tampa 60 years ago. If you don't make these improvements, sooner or later, the bills get out of control and there's no way to fix it. The debt. So the fact that you're taking it on incrementally managed, balanced, and doing it in a way that you understand that today's customers shouldn't have to pay for 30 years, and spreading it is makes me very proud to be a part of JEA's board and the community. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. AJ. Okay, Vicki.
I wanted to say some things I forgot to address. To Council Liaison Salem and to the board, I wanted to remind the board, first of all, that we have put in place the new Energage employee engagement survey that will be starting hopefully in April. So we have that to come, and we are also, I have talked to Chief Human Resources Officer Diane Moser, and we will be instituting a 360-degree feedback process, which JEA had some time ago. And that will be an anonymous 360-degree feedback mechanism throughout the entire JEA. So I just wanted to say that we have looked at that, sir, and we are going to be addressing it.
Okay, thanks, Vicki. Okay, as part of my chair remark, I'm going to be very frank. And we all heard some very public, troubling remarks today and also within the past just 7 days. And first, I want to correct the record. For one, I want to be very clear on the media referring to a board member as the incoming chair. Incoming chair implies the full board approved the nomination, which has not happened yet. On February 11th, the executive committee met and produced a slate of officers for the incoming chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. And that has not left the committee. And it hasn't left the committee because that's my decision. I decided not to action that in light of the current circumstances. I do plan on reconvening the executive committee in the very near term, probably next week. As board chair, I set the agenda, and any board member opposed to the agenda can say so. That's why we have motion to adopt the agenda. There were no objections to today's agenda that did not include the executive committee board action that I deleted. Secondly, troubling and unsubstantiated allegations have been made against our CEO. And these unsubstantiated allegations have the potential to subject JEA employees doing God's work 24/7 to unwarranted disruption drama, as well as JEA writ large, like the rating agency presentations coming up. I want to be perfectly clear. As board chair, I insist on adhering to the appropriate processes to address any issues or concerns, such as allegations made just in the last 7 days. By appropriate processes, I mean one, internal HR procedures where any employee has the opportunity to raise a complaint. And in consultation with Diane Moser, I have not heard of any complaints related to Vicki Cavy's leadership. Number two, issues via our ethics hotline can surface, which I am not aware of any complaints against the CEO in that process. Number three, issues can be raised by board members during any meeting, such as board members and/or the appropriate committee meetings, which we have. In this case, any leadership concerns can be raised at our Finance, Governance, and Audit Committee, which is the appropriate forum. I have never heard of a leadership issue come up at our Finance, Governance, and Audit Committee meetings in 2 years. And our most recent one was 21 January, 4 weeks ago. Four, the current board self-evaluation survey process filled out by the board members. Results, and we briefed them last month, listed strong relationship with executive leadership as one of the key strengths. 5, 4 weeks ago, at the last board meeting, as part of my chair's remarks process, I gave an annual assessment of JEA writ large and said, quote, JEA remains financially stable, operationally resilient, and well-governed. No opposing feedback was heard. 6, there are external processes where city council and or administration can raise an issue with any of the board members. No one has reached out to me on leadership issues associated with Vicki since she has been CEO. Just this past year, the board had K3 Strategies, another external entity, assess JEA in all facets. And one conclusion was leadership is focused and executive and staff are committed to winning. So, if none of the allegations that have surfaced in the last 7 days have surfaced in HR channels, ethics hotline, committee meetings, or dialogue with city council and administration or any external processes, you have to ask, is this a legitimate issue or not? I do not see this as anything close to a legitimate issue. And if there is concern, use the processes in place. We are not going to react to hearsay. This time, is there any other new business to discuss? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today, I find myself in a very difficult and unexpected position. As I stood to possibly be the next board chair at the JEA, with that possibility in mind, over the past 6 weeks, I've undertaken a series of conversations with the members of JEA's leadership team to get to know these people better in this organization. The feedback I've received was both consistent and deeply concerning. Multiple senior leaders independently described a toxic work environment by micromanagement, declining morale, and some individuals considering resignation. I found this to be unacceptable and harmful to the organization. It is also important to note that the most recent leadership team member who voiced concern was shortly terminated thereafter. The subsequent events raised serious concerns on whether others feel safe and candid with this situation that we currently have. I understand why some board members may feel blindsided by this circumstance that we face today. It was in the same position. I was in the exact same position a long time ago. I had a strong working relationship with Vicki. However, due to the constraints of Florida and the gunshot law, I was able to discuss these matters directly with other board members. There have been several external distractions surrounding recent board appointments and lobbying contracts. I want to state clearly and unequivocally, none of these matters influenced my decision to raise these concerns. I would also like to point out that I have not given any interviews or press conferences because I thought this was something that should be discussed at the board level and not in the public forum. JEA is much more than transformers and power lines. It is pipes. It is about our employees. It is about our neighbors, our friends that keep the power on and the water running, no matter what Mother Nature or the equipment can throw at it. Given this seriousness of the situation, I believe that it is reasonable for path forward to have an objective, independent, external review of JEA leadership. I propose a motion to have an independent, external 360-degree review of JEA leadership to make sure we are on the correct path. I do not think it's safe to have it from within the building. I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to ask a question. I've heard nothing about you asking Vicki to resign, and I understood, I've heard that you did that.
Yes. Would you like me to?
Yes.
I did approach Vicki and asked her to resign, and she said yes. She said it is the perfect time. She wants to resign. It's not a problem. She thanked me for bringing the concerns to her. And I kept telling her the last thing I want to do is hurt you. I feel you're a friend, and I want this to go positive. I do not want to hurt you. She texted me a few hours later, please hold on. Don't do anything. I need to evaluate this with my pension. The next thing she texted me is, do not go to Mark Fackler. And I did not hear another word from her until 2 days later. I received a very short phone call that said, I've eliminated the chief of staff position and I'm not going to resign.
I guess my question is,
Notwithstanding that I think it's totally inappropriate for you to take that without bringing it to the board, are you willing to tell us who said what? I mean, we're reacting to unspecified statements.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all trust you.
Yeah.
but this is beyond the pale. And I think we probably owe it to you to make an investigation. But I think in light of the seriousness of the things that have been alleged, we can't just ignore the fact and spend months investigating something that is founded on completely unsubstantiated allegations.
John, I understand completely. The problem is that the last person who voiced concern in this building was immediately terminated. All I can say is that this goes back to watching or reading the testimony after the JEA, the Aaron's-on trial. Melissa Dykes made the comment during that trial. I knew what was going on, but no board member ever asked me. So I took it upon myself. There were no contracts. This had nothing to do with anything. To just reach out to senior JEA leadership, have them come out to my office and talk to me. I wanted to get to know these people. I was not prepared for what I've heard. And if I say the names right here, I'm afraid they're going to be terminated. That's why I'm just asking for a not months-long process. There's not a lot of people that we're talking about. They're talking about the people that work directly with Ms. KV.
Hey, Rick, can I ask a couple questions? So you say you started this process 6 weeks ago?
Yes, sir.
When were you notified that you were going to, that there was interest in nominating you as chair?
At the governance committee meeting.
When was that?
Whatever.
The executive committee.
It was after that executive committee that I thought I should sit down and talk to Vicki.
But when was that? What was the date of that meeting?
The executive committee was, 17 February, I believe, but I gotta check the record. 17 February?
Okay.
I think it was
17.
17
Okay,
February.
so you started the campaign 6 weeks ago, but 17th is when you were notified that of your chairmanship. So like that's incongruent.
No, I didn't. It was over a 6-week period that I was talking to people.
So but you had no knowledge at that time that you were going to be nominated for chair.
No, I just knew there was a possibility because I was vice chair.
Okay, so I just heard the chair outline 6 ways to Sunday for our employees to have a platform to convey grievances, right? Even outside the 4 walls. There's also, to my knowledge, they could also go through the Office of Ethics at the City Council, which is outside the confines of JEA. So my question to you is, as a part of this diligence in these conversations, was there ever any consideration and guidance provided to those individuals to say, use the tools that are in the toolkit?
Honestly, I thought them coming to me was a proper venue. And I approached Vicki directly to work it out with her directly. I was not, and.
But you approached Vicki last week, right? When did you approach?
Yes, last
Okay.
Monday.
So there were 5 weeks in between, and we've had, my only point is, if we're all peers and colleagues, we've had multiple touch points since then. And so why wasn't it surfaced to the board so that we could begin to take the necessary steps to do our diligence to understand like what's going on here?
I thought I was finding the best way from everything I heard. I thought it was the best way to protect Vicki and to do the right thing. I was not trying to, and I kept telling her every time, I don't want this to hurt you. I don't want this to become public. I just want us to find a way. And if she had come back to me and said, let's talk about this or do something else, but she didn't. She just said, I've eliminated the chief of staff and I'm not going to resign. And that was the end of the conversation. I kept telling her, just talk to me. and she didn't want to talk about it. She took another stance. And this has nothing in the world to do with any lobbying contract or anything like that. I can assure you that those employees that I spoke to do not know anything about the lobbying contract or anything like that. It has nothing to do with distractions of appointments or anything like that. All that just happened to be noise at the same time. The conversation was carried out over 6 weeks. The last ones being 2 weeks ago. They were not just happened. I did not have them all 6 weeks ago, and I was having them over a period of time that people would come out to my office and meet with me. And and then we had the election or the executive committee meeting, and I felt it was the proper time to sit down and have a conversation with Vicki. It was not unilateral. I thought I was doing it the best way to protect the organization and the best way to protect Vicki. I told her 100 times, and I think she will be the first to say, I said, I do not want to hurt you. Yeah. No.
Councilmember Salem, it's not appropriate for you to comment right now. This is a board member discussion.
I'm just going to say this. I have lived through, in my professional career, I've lived through a situation like this. And when I think about agency and equity as a board, we are colleagues. We have a responsibility to this organization that if there are matters of this magnitude, that we have to talk about it collectively. And my concern is that as a colleague, you took agency upon yourself. And I don't think, given the structure of this board, that was appropriate. I want to take the emotion out of it, the protection of Vicki, and all of those anecdotes are fine, but we have a structured protocol that we all agreed upon. And that was not adhered to. And I'm struggling with why. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it just stands to reason that given the challenges that we faced, not even a decade removed, this does not sit well with me.
Arthur, I understand completely. And that is why I went to Vicki and I expected this to come to the board and not become the press event that it became. I did not go to the press. The only two people who had that conversation were myself and Vicki. Vicki chose to go to the press and make this a public event. I did not talk. I have not given an interview. I have not held a press conference. I thought I was trying to do the right thing. I went to her. If she had said no, I was going to bring it to the board. It might have been wrong. But I did not put this in the public realm for the situation that we are today. I thought that was the first step, and then I would come to the board and so forth. I thought I was trying to make it the most palatable for everyone involved, where it never saw the light of day. And that was the reason why. I was not trying to do something unilateral. What became difficult is when it hit the press, and I did not speak. I have not given a single interview and so forth. All I asked for is a review. That's all I'm asking for, is an independent review of what's going on in this building. And if I'm wrong, I will be the first to apologize. But all I'm asking for is an independent review, because the employees did not feel comfortable going through the channels. And maybe I was wrong talking to the employees, but I felt I needed to get to know the people in this building. And all I'm asking for is an independent review. That's it. Someone outside this building, someone to just allow people candid and so forth. And that's the only thing. That is my motion, to just have an independent review. And if I'm wrong, I will be the first to apologize. I am not trying to be unilateral. I thought I was trying to do the right thing for this organization to keep it out of the press. But the concern that was brought to me by people that you would all respect was concerning. And
General,
to a word, they were very similar.
General DeSalvo, this matter is not on the agenda. Is there a consensus of the board for this matter to be discussed further? This is your policy 2.152A, where discussions of matters not previously distributed agenda may occur only after board consent that the matter be heard. So for
Yeah, okay.
procedure.
Well, yeah, I mean, part of the procedure I am using because it's new business, but are you saying, do I need to ask for a motion to continue to discuss this?
Yes.
Okay. Second,
Second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we'll continue this discussion. MG, please.
I've been on public and private boards, and I've never seen a situation where a board member went to the CEO and asked for resignation without coming to the board first. As far as hearsay, I have had one employee say something to me back in December. My response was, I believe the correct response. I said, take it to HR. Because that's the way businesses should operate. You go to HR and let them do the investigation and then bring it back to the board. The way this was handled was absolutely out of line.
I would agree. From an HR perspective, employees have multiple lines that they can go to. And as far as protecting confidentiality, the ethics hotline protects the confidentiality of employees. I believe that the work that the JEA employees do on a daily basis indicates that they are brave and courageous. And I don't think that any employee would have any issue using the channels to express their needs. They deserve a workplace that is welcoming, inclusive, and as a board, we should be supportive of that, as well as the processes that are in place within this organization to ensure that our employees have that access.
So two things right now. One, Rick is asking for a motion for, excuse me, an external evaluation or look, whatever. Again, you heard my remarks. We've already had that. There's nothing that precludes us from doing that. But let's just get the elephant addressed right now. Confidence in Vicki Cavey as our CEO. She's got my confidence. I don't buy into any of this hearsay. And it's all been because it hasn't followed the appropriate processes. So to address that, we can do it one of two ways. I can convene a special meeting where we can talk about it, or we can just settle it right now here so that we cut the drama in light of critical stuff coming up. And resiliency is critical, but more importantly, the morale of the JEA workforce. We went through this crap 5 years ago, a little bit 3 years ago. When the heck are we going to learn our lesson? And this is up to us board members to do what's right. As long as you can look yourself in the mirror and decide which way to go, fine. But we're not going to subject the JEA workforce or this community to unwanted drama brought on by external forces for whatever reason. And anything I'm saying, anybody out there knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about. So at this time, I propose we just take a vote right now. Do we have confidence in Vicki? Have a motion to vote, to have a motion to vote. We have confidence in Vicki Cavey's continued ability to successfully lead this organization.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to endorse Vicki Cavey's leadership as the CEO of JEA and have continued confidence in her ability, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. I do want to just say one thing to the employees. I've had the privilege of meeting many of the employees just out in the community. And I'm thankful that employees feel comfortable approaching me and saying, hey, one of the questions I always ask is, how are things going? And so I want to invite you again. If there's a concern, even within the board, we are here to serve you. We are here to serve you. There are multiple paths to reach us. LinkedIn, wherever you can contact us. You have our information. Do not suffer in silence. Do not find yourselves in a situation where you cannot, or you don't feel compelled, or you don't feel psychologically safe. We want to address issues. We want a work environment where folks feel celebrated, they feel appreciated, but also understand that through the lens of leadership, we don't always get it right. But if you have the heart of a servant leader, and you recognize that you're not always going to get it right, but your intent is to always do the right thing, this organization will prosper. And so please, let's figure it out. Let's work together. Because someone said it best, and I wrote it down. This is about public interest, and it's about serving the community. And that's what we're here to do.
Okay, on Jody Brooks and General Counsel side, so the motion was passed. Anything else that needs to be done with this?
Chair, I still would like to speak.
You're not recognized, please.
I guess the only other question is that, does the board want to take any further action regarding any study externally? Do you want to even take that up as a motion or a consideration? It's been raised, or are we done with that?
What I would think is let's, if there is a need for an external evaluation as part of the processes I've been talking about, board members, at any time, you can raise that if you want it. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's for discussion.
I would like to just say that before we would move to any external review, we haven't looked at anything internally. So is there an opportunity for us to think about, as a leadership team, how we can hear from employees? I'll throw this out as an example. Perhaps our compliance team brings forth ethics reports, but they only give us the numbers. Perhaps we should begin looking at themes from those reports in a session. And that session could be closed with a court reporter present for confidentiality purposes, or they could be high level and not attributed to any particular employee, which is how an ethics hotline would work anyway.
No, so Quans, I think that's a very good idea, and I would just recommend get with Vicky and the appropriate staff, HR and whoever, Charles, I guess, too, or whatever. But yeah, let's develop that. If you could take that on, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Our next board meeting will be March 31st. This meeting is adjourned.